Picture this: 4.5 billion years ago, Earth was a nightmare world, a planet of fire and thunder. Volcanoes erupted endlessly, meteors crashed from the sky, and the air was thick with poisonous gas. There were no oceans, no trees, no life, just chaos, heat, and rock. Yet somehow, from that chaos, something extraordinary happened. Life began. That's the greatest mystery of all time. How did a lifeless planet suddenly give rise to living cells? How did a few simple chemicals decide to organize themselves, reproduce, and evolve into everything from bacteria to human beings? Scientists call the process abiogenesis, the idea that life can arise naturally from non-living matter. But here's the problem. When we look closely at the math and the chemistry, it doesn't seem so simple. Robert Andres, a biologist at Imperial College London, wanted to know how likely it really was for life to start by pure chance. So he built a model, not of creatures or fossils, but of numbers. He used mathematics to simulate the process of molecules coming together to form the first living systems. And what he found was shocking. The odds were almost impossibly small. The molecules essential to life, things like RNA, proteins, and lipids, are delicate. They fall apart quickly. For them to combine into something that could actually reproduce, everything would have had to happen incredibly fast, almost too fast to make sense. But here's what really makes this strange. Fossil evidence tells us that life appeared on Earth almost immediately after the planet cooled. Microfossils found in rocks from Canada and Australia show that bacteria-like organisms were alive more than 3.5 billion years ago. Considering that Earth itself formed only about 4.5 billion years ago, that means life showed up almost instantly, geologically speaking. So if life forming from random chemistry is so unlikely, how did it happen so soon? Andres began to wonder if maybe it didn't. Maybe life didn't start here at all. Maybe it came from somewhere else. That's where things get interesting. There's a theory called directed panspermia. It suggests that life on Earth might have been seeded deliberately by an intelligent civilization. The idea was first proposed in the 1970s by Francis Crick, one of the scientists who discovered the structure of DNA, and his colleague Leslie Orgel. They suggested that perhaps, long ago, a civilization facing extinction or exploring the galaxy sent out tiny capsules filled with microscopic life forms. These could drift through space, frozen and protected, for millions of years until they landed on a young planet like Earth. And if even a few of those microbes survived the landing and started reproducing, they could evolve into the complex web of life we see today. Andres doesn't say this definitely happened, but he argues that it can't be ruled out. In his paper titled "The Unreasonable Likelihood of Being," he writes that alien intervention is speculative, but logically open. In other words, while it may sound far-fetched, the numbers make it worth considering. And here's the part that really bends your mind. Humanity today is talking seriously about doing exactly that, sending life to other planets. Scientists are researching how to terraform Mars, how to create atmospheres, and how to introduce microbes that can survive and build ecosystems. Space agencies and private companies like SpaceX are already working on missions that could one day carry the first seeds of life to another world. If we're already thinking about spreading life to new planets, who's to say a more advanced civilization didn't do it long before us? Maybe we're not the first gardeners of the cosmos. Maybe we're the result of someone else's experiment. Still, not everyone agrees. Most scientists believe life probably did arise naturally on Earth, even if the odds seem slim. After all, rare things happen all the time given enough time and space. Early Earth was full of powerful energy sources: lightning, volcanic heat, radiation, and chemical reactions happening in every drop of water. In places like deep-sea vents, where hot mineral-rich water meets cold ocean, the conditions could have been perfect for the first simple molecules to come together. Tiny chains of RNA might have formed, learned to copy themselves, and eventually evolved into primitive cells. Over billions of years, those cells changed, multiplied, and diversified into every form of life we know today. Maybe it didn't need aliens. Maybe it just needed time, chemistry, and luck. But no matter how you look at it, it's still an incredible story. Because whether life started in a deep ocean vent or was carried here across light years of space, it found a way. Against all odds, it began, it survived, and it evolved into us, a species now capable of asking where it came from. That's what makes Indra's question so powerful. He asks, was Earth terraformed, or did order coalesce from chaos under the silent governance of physics? In other words, was life the result of intelligent design, not in a religious sense, but in a cosmic one? Or was it the inevitable outcome of nature's laws? Maybe it's both. Maybe life is what the universe does when it gets the chance. Maybe physics itself is the architect, a set of rules that allows order to rise out of chaos, turning simple matter into consciousness. And think about this. Every living thing on Earth, from the smallest bacterium to the tallest redwood, is connected by an unbroken chain that stretches back billions of years. Every heartbeat, every breath, every thought traces its origin to that first spark of life, wherever it came from. Maybe we're not separate from the universe. Maybe we're its way of understanding itself. If that's true, then it doesn't really matter whether life began here or was delivered from the stars. What matters is that it happened. Against impossible odds, the universe found a way to wake up, to look around, to wonder, to dream. So maybe the real miracle isn't that aliens seeded life here. The real miracle is that life, once begun, refuses to stop. It spreads, it adapts, it survives. It reaches for the light every single time. And now, billions of years later, that same life is building rockets, exploring space, and asking questions about where it came from. Maybe one day we'll find the answer. Maybe we'll find fossils on Mars or signals from a distant world that show we're not alone. Or maybe we'll realize that life is everywhere, that the universe itself is alive, connected through every particle and every mind. Until then, we can only look up at the stars and wonder. Because whether we were born from Earth or brought here by someone else, we are part of something much bigger. We are the latest chapter in a story that began long before us, and one that's still being written. So the next time you gaze at the night sky, remember this: you are made of the same atoms as those distant stars. You are living proof that the universe somehow knows how to create itself, and that's a story worth telling.